Ah, girl, I think you're royalty and you deserve nothing less than my loyalty. You hold me down in return, you get more of me. That's how it feel when you're someone's priority, babe. Now what you gonna do with that? I know you ain't used to that. I'll show you better, babe. I'll show you better. I know you're used to it.
And welcome to Grown Folks Business. I am your hostess with the mostest, Goddess Sierra, and I'm so thankful to have you tuning in tonight. My co-host Earlene, of course, is out there getting that paper, so she'll join us a little bit later after she finishes up those readings. For you all, welcome to 2018. I took about 2 weeks during the end of 2017 and the beginning of 2018 to really think about some of the questions that you all have emailed me and talked about for 2018. And I tell you, this is a master number 11 year. This is the year of peace, of getting things really worked out, of sovereignty with self, and really coming into alignment with your spiritual awareness or destiny, etc. Anybody telling you that this is a number 2 year, they are not experienced in numerology because you don't break down the master numbers, a completely different connotation. And so tonight, I'm telling you, I want to talk about healthy sexual living, because as I was researching over the holidays, I just wanted to see that myself as a sexual wellness coach, if I were to Google sexual wellness, what would come up? Because I'm a book woman. I'm not into technology. A lot of information on the internet is misinformation. So I Googled sexual wellness and nothing popped up except lubricants, vibrators, and prosthetic lingams and yonis. All of the things to make you sexually unwell, all of the things to make you not interested in entertaining your loved one in a sexual manner. And so nowadays I have to be careful, and I have to say things like loved ones and partners, because people are literally having sex with a multitude of things, from animals to mannequins, to little teeny 8-centimeter doll babies, to shoes. But it seems like there's not a lot of sex going on between people. And what is this about? This is about unhealed sacral chakras. A lot of issues in the root chakra, a lot of issues in the solar plex chakra, pressing down into that victim archetype and that martyr archetype that dwells in the sacral chakra, which is also the element of water. So you're talking about a highly emotional, and if unhealthy emotional space, a volatile space, right in between the navel and the genitalia. All of this cosmic energy that desires you to receive pleasure and joy and sensory awareness, if it is blocked, it is emotionally unstable, volatile, and pretty dangerous. And so this is one of the ways that we can come to understand whether or not we're in need of some, as Marvin Gaye said it, sexual healing. And many of us are. Signs that you are sexually unwell in your sacral chakra are emotional overreactions, codependency. Even when you're menstruating, ladies, a lot of abdominal cramps, or men, a lot of muscle tension, excessive emotional attachments to, people or objects or places, showing excessive neediness. These are signs that you're in need of working on your sacral chakra for healing energy and light. And so one of the ways you can also tell that you're deficient, and a lot of women get into this and they start claiming, I chose to be, but they don't even realize that their low libido has been caused by their emotional overreactions. And so you have a low libido, a pessimism, depression, irregular menstrual cycles, urinary bladder infections, bacteria vaginosis, fibroid tumors, all these different things, no creativity, zero authenticity, fears of your own happiness, problems with your own self-worth, and issues with pleasure. And so if you're in these spaces, this is how you can kind of govern yourself without really having a conversation that goes around the room and stating, I don't really know if I'm sexually well, but really going inward and asking yourself, why is it that I don't desire a partner? And you'll see all of these hurtful scenarios that you've created that have taken you out of sexual wellness. Because here's the thing. It's never about the story. It's really about the outcome. Every last one of us have a story. Every last one of us have a situation, but we have a personal responsibility to ourselves to seek the solution. And so one of the ways that we seek those solutions is through going inward. That's the most important thing, because if you stay outward, you'll be running here and there trying to figure out what's the best modality to use for self. If you go inward, the God or goddess within is going to wake up and have a conversation with you. For so many years, church taught people to pray, 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 pray. And people never stopped talking. Now in this age of Aquarius, it's time to start listening. What is Spirit saying back to you? You've got enough prayers out in the multiverse, up in the heavenlies, out in the world, in the system, in the matrix, whatever you want to call it. You have enough prayers there. Now you need to go inward and figure out the plan of action. Some of us are so fearful that we haven't received the answer to our prayers because we've locked ourselves in the house due to these emotional imbalances in our sacral chakra. You got to understand the archetypes that dwell here and the voices that you can hear if you're caught in these archetypes of the victim, the martyr, the saboteur, or the sovereign. And so you have to be really careful and figure out which archetype you're in. A lot of times women, we like the plausible deniability concerning our yoni, concerning our sexuality. We always want to pretend that we've been coerced into it because there's a fear societally of a woman in her sexual power, because women like that have genuinely been name called and said to be less desirable by, Puritan behavior or church behavior, religious behavior of some sort. Don't put jewelry here. It means you're a prostitute. Don't pierce your ear here. Don't pierce your nose. Don't do this. Don't wear that. You're going to be a whore or a prostitute. And so women have become extremely sexual repressed. And in that name calling, men also sexually repressed, but theirs has turned more into a sneakiness or a unwillingness to stand firm in their sexual indulgences. And so that's where you get all the sneaking around and the cheating and no sense of freedom in one's own sexuality. And so what I learned as I've gone into this new year, and we're at the 10th of the month, and I've already seen the 9th of the month today. Shout out to my mommy and happy birthday. I hear a lot of people saying, how many partners have you been with in 2018? And it's 9 days in, and people are like 9 and, 6 and wow. And I'm like, why so many partners? But these are the areas where we recognize that we need to heal. However, in a social media life, it's presented as you got it going on. But this is a person that's locked in the psychosis of the trap. And if you want to call in at 310-928-7733. Tonight we're addressing what is the wellness of your sexuality. Indulging in 6 or 7 people a week is not indicative of sexual wellness. It's indicative of sexual unwellness. However, it seems to be whenever we're promoting tendencies that aren't really healthy for us, we try to over glamorize them in order to sort of sell the masses that we're in a good space with ourselves. If a man is low vibrational and you're a woman, there would be absolutely zero fulfillment other than penetration from that lingam. You know what I'm saying? And some women are really into just the penetration. Some women love, I hear them say, oh, he blew my back out. He banged me out. He hurt me. Girl, I was bleeding. And, I've realized now that in my time on this planet, I don't want to be treated like that. I was talking with women this week, asking them the proverbial question that men ask, what's your spot? And many of the women, probably about age 38 to 50, all said the same thing. Oh, my neck, or, my hand. They weren't anything inconspicuous. And what I realized is that even though I may have some areas on my body that, arouse me a bit, I've never actually had a man take the time to allow me to even know my body. I've never had a man that knew every aspect of my body and went, searching and climbing over the valleys and the hills and the mountains of my essence. I've never had that, because most men are into the penetration. And what I learned was that as a woman, I became into just hurry up and get it over with. Because how did many of us start out having sex? We started out sneaking. And it's amazing that we brought that sneaky behavior into adulthood. And so one of the ways you can address, where you are in your wellness of your sexuality is to really go inward and see where you're at. So if you've got negative or destructive emotions, if you've got codependent behavior, if you've got a lack of fulfillment in anything, or insatiable desires in another thing, the highs and the lows, the deep polarities, if you got excessive indulgences in addictive behavior, or you're getting lost in fantasies, and if your physical health is declining, there's a chance that you are sexually repressed and not really taking care of your sexual wellness. And so with that being said, I wanted to share with you tonight that there is hope. We can get this corrected, and it's all the things that the doctor won't tell you because they want to try to give you a pill. And here's the thing, they recognize that with women, there really wasn't a pill. With men, they could pump more blood to their lingam and get a monster erection. But when it comes to the women needing that emotional connection, there really wasn't a pill to work. So they would try antidepressants and any of these other things. And that's just not going to work because we're looking for that soul connection. This chakra is all water. It's all water. That is nothing but emotions. And so if you can think about Michael Jackson or Prince or Elvis Presley, James Brown, any of those singers or entertainers that were excellent with their hips and Marvin Gaye could really gyrate those hips when he was talking about sexual healing. Well, that's exactly what you do to pull that energy and move that energy and stir that energy up in that sacral chakra. Also, the color there is orange. And so you want to surround yourself around some things that are orange. Build an altar. You can have, some orange flowers there and an orange picture and, something from the beach, because the element for the sacral chakra is all water, just a small one, something heart-shaped, either a mirror or chocolate. And really meditate in front of this altar to do what? The only thing it does is increase your power and lend support to what you're doing, because you're basically sitting in front of all of the color of this chakra and feeding it and infusing it into your body. And so you want to make sure that you feed yourself properly, that you give yourself the things that are necessary for a positive sex center. And if you start attaching elements to your yoni, ladies, like he hurt my feelings, I don't want to have sex. That isn't what a yoni is for. The yoni is for moving energy around. So that is why a lot of people enjoy what they call makeup sex, is because it gets really grungy and really intense and it's animalistic. It's coming from that different hippocampus center of the brain, right in that cerebral cortex. It's just all pure energy, the kind that make you not look up at one another when you're done and make you feel a little bit dirty and ashamed. But you like that because you really cleansed yourself well. And so we have to get out of this ideology that we're not supposed to enjoy our sexual wellness. When the church tells you you're not supposed to have this intercourse unless you're trying to have a baby, well, then is a woman who has had an incident and can't have a child, never supposed to have sex. This is outrageous. We have to start using our senses, which is what the sex center is all made up of, the 5 senses, to say what is right and what is not so right for our bodies. And after you get your altar, you want to sit there, you want to meditate, you want to pull that power in. Then you really want to start with those pelvic thrusts and rock your pelvis and move the energy around and stir up in your yoni. For men, it's qigong, to strengthen really and get your fluids moving in your body. You want to have some citrine and some carnelian, some moonstone, some golden topaz on your altar or laid out, in a divine pattern for yourself. You want to have sacred numbers. You can use the number 3 for the sacral chakra as a lucky number, or you can use your life path number or that of your partner. You really want to meditate, and you want to get yourself into a space where you can just lay in each other's arms and go over each other's body, walking up and down, seeking and searching for every ounce of deliciousness that's there in the intimacy of your bed chamber. But when we're still in that sneak energy, that suspect energy, we're giving ourselves 6 or 7 minutes to have pleasure. When we've had, 12 to 16 hours of pain as we hustled and bustled through the day. And so why not take the time out for lovemaking? It's something that, with the schedules that people have given their children, with all of the things that they're running around from soccer to baseball, to football, to cheerleading, to volleyball, when did we stop taking time for the family? When did that not become a priority? When did we start determining our children's success at 5 and committing them to middle schools and getting so wrapped up in the life of a loved one that our beautiful prime years, they just waste away? And the next thing we know, we're looking over at a partner that we don't recognize, and we're angry, and our kids are still in the same position they were in because they didn't get to sneak. They had too many responsibilities. They didn't get to do the things that you did to get in the position that you're in. So, we really got to back up and make time for love. If you find yourself with a partner that you used to really get along with, and now you're just arguing and fighting and cussing, you got bills, you're yelling, you got to understand that you've utilized things to take over your relationship. You want to go to the movies every Thursday. You want to order $100 worth of, popcorn and things every Thursday. This is what you do. And if a movie doesn't come out, you lose your mind because the only way you've learned to communicate now is sitting in front of a TV. If you want to go for a walk, he wants to go for a run. There's no unity going on. And so many of us are walking around from women. We used to walk around from our roots in a lot of pain and things like that. Now, because of such of a shift in energy on this planet, we have a lot of women walking around in their solar plex, in their power chakra, and we have a lot of masculine energy coming from there. I realized the other day, as much as I am a goddess and as much as I bask in my femininity, I embrace my masculinity really quickly. And sadly, I'm an alpha female and an alpha male. My male energy is just as persuasive, magnetic, aggressive, dignified and flamboyant as my femininity. And so I'm superbly balanced, but depending on what setting I'm in and the room that I'm in, I can really make men uncomfortable. And that was something that I didn't know because I'm a finisher. I'm an overachiever, as they call it. But I'm just the archetype that I am. You know what I'm saying? And so, ladies, sometimes we get into an archetype and we don't know how to come out of it. So like for me, when I was in my nurturer, I was a mountain lion when it came to my children. And then when they reached a certain age, I started looking around for someone to baby because I was still in my nurturer and my kids didn't need me anymore. And I was panicking and screaming and tearing through the house because I was coming out of my archetype and didn't want to. That's how you see women. I saw a woman this weekend and she had on a baby backpack on her chest and in it was a dog. Now, I'm not knocking it, but this is a prime example of a woman that has not come out of her nurturer, and she's not in the next phase of her life because she's diapering dogs and putting clothes on it because she doesn't know how to allow her next archetype to come forward. So she just starts playing with the little teeny chihuahua or Bichon Frise or whatever. And so this is the thing. If we start recognizing where people are, we could have a lot more compassion for people. But instead, because we don't give ourselves to study, what we do is we judge a situation before we know what it is. And at the end of the day, it's the same results. Very little love making going on and a whole lot of vibrations going on. Young people sleeping in separate rooms, going down to having sex once a month. People who live together. I have clients, they live with a significant other. And I say to them, how often do you all have intercourse? And the room goes silent. And they are wondering what's wrong with their relationship. People are out of lovemaking and they're simply into having sex. Or as the song would say, humping around, you know? And so it puts you in a weird situation as a woman, especially a woman who's never experienced orgasm or a woman who has never experienced sensual touch or even a man that was willing to take his time. A lot of us as women are sexually repressed. Number one, because, you know, they had that saying, embrace your inner hoe. But here was the thing. Were you with a man where embracing your inner hoe was going to get you rejected? Because there's certain brothers, they claim they want a lady in the street and a freak in the sheets, but the moment you show them the freak, they become extremely insecure. They lose their mind. They say, oh, this isn't what I want. You know what I'm saying? And so women, when you're with a man who isn't safe, that intercourse is going to be tense. Not intense, but tense. It's going to be very stagnant. You're not going to be able to move that energy. You're not going to be able to have a woo-saw moment or an excellent orgasm because you're having sex in a tight atmosphere. If you're not with a man that you can swing from the chandeliers with, you have to ask yourself, what exactly am I doing? We have to figure out the energy. And here's the thing, I recognize that it's generational. I started out sexually active, not of my own choosing at first. You know, I grew up in an era where there was very common molestation within families. Very common. Why do I say that? Because I'm not the only woman on the planet, and I've talked to so many that have endured and encountered exactly what I encountered and endured. And so it was very prominent during that time. So my first sexual relations weren't of my own choosing. And then there was shame attached to that. Then when I got into my own choosing and I came bringing the shame, well, what do you think I was? I was a tight partner. I was confused. I wasn't certain if I was supposed to make noise, if I was supposed to moan. Was I supposed to enjoy it? I didn't know. And here's the thing. We have made something so beautiful and so intimate some type of mockery or sickness or disease. If our children ask us a simple question, we lose our mind. It's a simple question about sexuality or sensuality. I'm thankful that I do what I do for a living because both of my children are well versed in things sexual. Even though my youngest son is 10 years old and all he talks about is, I can't wait until I'm able to have a relationship. Not one of a boyfriend and girlfriend, but a sexual relationship. He says this at 10 years old. Now, my old self would have slapped his lips, would have been, why? Because that the energy that I received my sexual education and wellness in. I went to Catholic school. I mean, I'm in a school where allegedly no one of an adult age is having intercourse because I had nuns and priests, people who were allegedly not having sex. Imagine my shock and dismay when they had the entire scandal of priests and nuns and babies and homosexuality. Imagine my dismay because I went to a place that taught me that, my skirt was supposed to be at my knee. My socks were supposed to be up at my knee. My shirt was supposed to be buttoned all the way up. I was supposed to hold my books close to my chest, and I was supposed to walk with my head down. Putting shame on everything sacred, everything sensual. Even being beautiful was a crime. You need to be chaste. You need not to be attractive. You need not to wear makeup. You need not to enhance yourself. Be a chaste woman. And so I came from that era. And now I meet young ladies that come from what they call it, the thought era or the hoe era or the tramp era or the trick era. Where these young girls now, I saw some videos on World Star, and they were imitating oral sex on eggplants and cucumbers. Young ladies with no regard for themselves, with no. Listen, I mean, here's the thing. With sexual wellness, you can say, take all of the handlebars off and dive in. But at the same time, you have to ask yourself, where is your moral compass? Not just morality in general, because it's not in general. That's something that everyone holds dear to themselves. But when you're a young lady and you haven't even started your life yet, you have something this kind of degrading to yourself on camera, circulating all over the internet, and then you want to present yourself for a job or whatever. A lot of these companies, they just made it a law in a couple of states that you couldn't look on people's social media and stuff to hire them because people are having these morality clauses in their contracts because we're living in a society where narcissistic and ridiculous behavior, be it sexual, mental, or physical, is totally encouraged and accepted. And so these states have gotten together and said, all right, it isn't right for us to look at people's extracurricular activities when they leave work. So, for the young ladies that are doing this, and I mean, they're fighting to do it, I would have never. And it was funny because my oldest son said last night, he said, listen, these hoes today, yes, he said it, don't have nothing, mama, on you 90s hoes, And here's the thing. At the end of the day, just because we had on long pants, we were still doing the butt or grinding, bumping and grinding, freak me baby, or whatever it was. And we were, let me lick you up and down all night. We were going up and down on each other. We were literally making love on the dance floor. He's absolutely right. But because we did it in sensuality, you would almost feel a euphoria in the room. We didn't realize that anything was wrong with it because it was done in such sensuality. Now it's done in what they call savagery. Just bang, 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 bang. You see men pick women up and bang them into the floor, bust their head open, throw them off of a stage, whatever. This is what goes down. So it says on the board, a lot of black women, especially in the big northern cities in America, are carrying in far too much masculine energy. And it's a turnoff. I'm wondering about the guys that go for it. Are they down low homosexual? This was a really big thing on the internet the other day. And what can she do about it? How does a man even bring up the subject to her since she's a dude? She might try to punk you out as a dude. I just deal with Caribbean women who are more feminine. And so here's the thing. I'm a Caribbean woman, and I don't really know why men say that we're more feminine. What we are is more submissive, but we're equally as dogmatic when it comes to the behaviors. Like if you see a man cheating in Puerto Rico and he gets caught by his wife, she's going upside his head, period. You're going to see him begging and no, mommy, please, mommy, no, I te llamo, mi amor. You're going to hear all of that love language and everything coming forward as he prometas that he's sorry and all of this stuff, you know, and you're going to hear the woman popping him and fighting the other woman. All those things are going to go down because that's not about masculinity as much as it's about immaturity and emotional immaturity. Why? Because we have unhealed hurts in our sacral chakra. And some of these things are familial. Some of these things are karmic. Some of these things are energy based. And some of these things are just the karma that you have to work out while you're in this lifetime. And so when it comes to men being attracted to masculine energy, here's the thing. Many men don't know the difference between energetic attraction and physical because they spend so much time in physical attraction. And so they will mess around with a chick that they see is toxic because she got a fat butt. You hear him say some of that, man, she was just sexy. Them lips though, that nose though. They find one thing to focus on outside of her toxic, nasty attitude. And they stay there so that they can reap the rewards of that thing that they find so irresistible on that toxic woman. And you'll see, hey, some of y'all get caught up in it. You drop a couple of kids in it. Everything. You just can't get enough. And then these are some of the most toxic relationships. And I even had a gentleman the other night as I was interviewing him, and he said to me that he had invested in his previous girlfriend. She was much younger than him. But this is a very strong, intelligent, sexy, handsome black man. He's got it going on, ladies. This brother is well off. He's educated. He is extremely intelligent. And on top of being intelligent, smart, nice body, working lingam, everything, hard worker, career man, entrepreneur. He has it going on. And so he said to me, a lot of black women aren't attracted to a man like me. And I was offended. I'm like, where they at? What women? How is this possible? Because this is a fine black man. He said, to a black woman, what am I? And I answered, a dream come true. He said, no, I'm a nerd. I didn't see it. It was no Steve Urkel or anything. He said, Ray was just a well-spoken. He didn't use street language or slang. Even though I'm attracted to that too, I'm just as equally attracted to a man. Listen, this man started talking about finances, and I was just dripping. I was oozing with just delight. Do you hear me? Because his drive and his desire financially was so sexually stimulating to me, I could barely stand up. It was sexual. It was sensual. It was beautiful. It was amazing. And so, with that being said, I was like, woo, talk that talk. And he says, so of course he was with a Caucasian woman. Then he corrected me and said, well, of European descent. I laughed and said, well, aren't they all? Because I really want to know, is it the energy of the melanated woman that turns the black man off to the point where he feels that we are undateable? A lot of brothers, if you're listening, if you can answer that question, 310-928-7733, I'd appreciate you to call in because, I interview so many people all week. Nobody ever wants to come on the show. We have such issues with talking now. And this is why we have such unhealed hurts and wounds. And we're out sticking our lingams through glory holes and bathroom stalls because we don't even want a conversation anymore. We don't want to talk. We're in the room having the same issues together, but nobody's talking. He said, I've been on dating sites and nothing. Black women ignore me. And I told him, because you're not having a dick contest with them. See, a lot of sisters, you all want to see what a dude drives and, whether he's iced out in jewelry and whether he's got designer clothes on. You all want to see that because you think that makes him some type of man. Most of the time, that just makes him a flashy player. But a man who's modest and doesn't show that, but see, you missed out because this brother has it going on. You didn't show that. You just pass him over. And so then when you ask, what is he doing with a white woman? That was who desired him. He told me, I got tired of waiting for a black woman to choose me when white women were choosing me just fine. See, it's different for black men. It's different for the brothers, lady. When we want to get all angry and mad, but here's the thing. We're stuck on what kind of job do you have? What kind of car do you drive? We're stuck on the superficial. And these white women are looking and they're seeing potential. And they're not judgy and they're not looking, they're looking for partnership. But he goes on to tell me that he gets this white girl and she can't do anything. I said, what do you mean? He says she can't cook. She barely can clean up. She can't govern her child. She can't. I was very puzzled because I'm sitting there saying, well, a woman like me, a man isn't going to look at either. A woman who's accomplished, a woman who has her own home, has her own cars, has her own money, has her own jobs, has her own businesses. Why isn't a black man looking at? I know plenty of single professional black women of all ages that cannot get a relationship. Now, I know that it's, when it comes down to heterosexual men, it's kind of slim pickings right now. And so we're kind of in this sharing pandemic. It's like the man has so many options now. He's really not even trying to put forth the effort and any amount of drama. And he got 3 or 4 more chicks that he can go deal with outside of you. And so men, first of all, have a lot more options these days. A lot more options. With that being said, they are exercising their options. They're exercising them. And women, we have to understand that if we want to have ourselves with a man, we do have to stop behaving like men. This is something that we've talked about on Grown Folks Business for a long time about women and masculine energy. I actually was perplexed and devastated this weekend to recognize that my masculine energy is frightening. My masculine energy overpowers men. And I thought, this is pretty terrible. And so that's something that I'm working on healing even in myself, because I recognize that when I'm not utilizing my sexual energy, my sacral chakra, for creativity or intercourse, I quickly morph into my masculine energy. I think my hostess with the mostest might be here, Goddess Erlene. I don't hear her yet. I see her, but I'm not certain if she's coming on, people, tonight. So we'll keep it moving. And so I recognize that I had this masculine energy flowing in me. And that was kind of scary because I was like, wait a minute, I'm a feminine goddess, I'm this. But when I'm not sexually active, I'm actually masculine. Why? Because it's my protection mode. It's my protection mode. So I walk around, and because normally my mate would be my protector. He would be who I would link myself with and feel like I was safe. And so when I don't have a protector to do that, my yin energy steps up and does it for me. But it does it a little bit too well. And so I look like I don't want a man. Not the case. I have a man, though. So we have a caller. Caller, you're live on Grown Folks Business.
Oh, hi. I was enjoying the show. My name is Patrice.
Hi, Patrice.
I was like, well, I need to call and ask her, what's his man's phone number so that way I could go out and talk to him, because talking is stimulating for me. And I wanted to say, like black men, they also seem to be looking for black women who have all of these credentials, if you will. Women with houses and make a certain amount of money and all of this kind of stuff. I was talking to some friends of mine, and they was kind of like saying they wanted these women that have all of this stuff. And I was like, well, what if she works at McDonald's and she don't have all of that stuff? What about that?
And what was their response?
Advocate. It was like, no, I don't want that.
And here's the thing that these
like
men are
to take care of her or something like that. He had a perception about her. as if she was like somehow less worthy. Like, she might just be trying to get on her feet,
Right. And here's the thing. A lot of these men and women alike desire what they aren't even bringing to the table. You can't want more than what you're offering. How do you work at McDonald's and you expect your woman to be the vice president of the local bank? You know what I'm saying? We're not walking into the equality of being equally yoked. And then we take a partner that's less credentialed and we'll dog them out, and then we'll get into a relationship with a credentialed person and realize, hindsight 2020, that I was better off with the woman that held me down. You know what I'm saying? And so, but with this social media life that's going on now, everyone wants this viewpoint and this falsity of perfection, and it's false. People are struggling in their relationships. They're struggling in their sexuality, but because they're making money to promote their falsity and all of America is in awe, we sit there and we believe the hype. These people are having the same sex that you're not having because you're so busy watching their lives. You should not know who Black China and Rob are sleeping with, and you ain't had a man in a year. And women have to really get into understanding that they can have sex if they want to. You don't need to sneak, ladies. You don't need to feel ashamed. You don't need to, go out to dinner. If you want to take care of your sexual wellness and empower yourself and you have an adequate partner, cut out the BS. Go over there, handle your business well, get up and go home. Stop attaching yourself to all of these men because it's not necessary. And when they don't attach themselves to us, we feel slighted because we've been raised to think that we got to be with this dude and this dude alone. But the thing is, you're experimenting, because I'm going to tell you who knows who you're supposed to be with is your yoni. Your yoni knows. If you're with this guy and it doesn't matter how amazing his sex is, and you smell between your legs when he gets up, he is not the man for you. Doesn't matter how good you claim his stroke game is and all that, he's not the man for you. Because you smell in the sweetest spot. And I watch women go through, I don't know why I keep getting bacterial vaginosis, but when he goes to the doctor, he doesn't have anything. Because your yoni is telling you, boy, bye. And so we get so caught up in having a man, we don't even check the quality of the man. We just
men get
have
smells?
one. They do get smells. And here's the thing. They get smells by giving them to you. So one of the ways you can tell if your man is in the energy of another woman is when you all have sex, his seminal fluid will be different and it will smell different. And every woman knows what her man smells like. If a man is in another woman's energy, even if he hasn't had intercourse with her, but if he's wrapped up in her energy, when you all have intimacy, you will smell differently. Your yoni is a great beacon of light. It's a sacred space. It's a snitch. Your yoni knows what's going on. Your yoni is like, hey, keep sweat. Something just ain't right. But the difference is, because we want to have these partnerships and these relationships, we ignore our yoni and we start trapping energy there because we got, Raheem and Johnny Boy and Sylvester and Daquan and all them trapped in there, and we mad at everybody. Now we stuffing yoni eggs up there unaware of the purpose of that. We're doing every modality, but we're not healing because we're not getting accurate information. Self-care is the most important care. Not wanting to let go doesn't allow you to get what's next. You don't have the end all be all in one person. That's right. On my board it says the punani don't lie. The punani does not lie. Men, when you get that woman and she walks by you and she does not smell right, her odor is telling you, boy, don't do it. I know men who will say they laid up in it stinking. And I'm thinking, well, what was wrong with you? Like, man, hey, I just held my nose. I held my breath. And I'm just like, are we this desperate? Her body was telling you, you're not the one. But you were like, hey, I got to have it anyway. And so we have to get into the pattern of laying down, meditating, and coming to awareness with our body. I'm a woman that I'm in touch with my body. I don't even have to wear deodorant because I'm in touch with my body. I don't get nervous. I don't perspire under my arms because I keep my chakras balanced. And if something is blocked, I quickly know by the shift in the energetic flow of my body. And I recognized this weekend when I was holding those interviews, wow, I've never had a man take his time on me. Sister, have you had a man take his time on you, Patrice?
Yeah, actually I have. It was fun.
It was fun.
Really, really fun. Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm. Did he find your spot?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I discovered that I really like breast stimulation. Like, he wasn't like, like some people, they just want to touch your genitals, and it's like,
right.
No, he didn't do any of that. He spent about like 30 minutes just on my breast. It was like really, really, really freaking phenomenal. Like,
I know that's right, because you're still talking about it.
I hadn't even taken off my pants. I just was like topless. I was like almost begging him to
give it to me. Yeah, because here's the thing. There's a huge breast meridian. That K6 meridian, that K2, all of that kidney meridian goes all the way up from the big toe all the way up to right outside of your nipple. And so if a man can stimulate that, well, some women, they're stimulated on the actual nipple or breast, and some women on the feet. I'm a woman who personally does not like her feet. I don't like my feet in anybody's mouth. That's a turnoff for me. But that same meridian point, I'm like Patrice. I like my nipple stimulation. That's a turn on. But as I said, I've been married a long time, and thankfully I have a healthy sexual relationship. But sometimes my husband could get tired in my stimulation because it just really took a lot, because I was so blocked. Enduring sexual trauma, enduring sexuality too soon before I reached puberty, and all these things caused me to be really blocked. And so if I got in my head, I quickly was out of the feeling. And so, feeling as a grown woman that I had to sneak because I had children. I had a child at 17, and you're told don't let the baby hear you having sex and all these types of things. So I spent practically my whole life sneaking and married. Where does this behavior come from? Who said that our children aren't supposed to experience what lovemaking looks? I remember hearing my parents going crazy. I remember hearing all types of cuss words and hollering and screaming, and my from both of my parents. And I would be like, "What in the world are they doing?" It didn't sound like fighting, even though there was a whole lot of cussing. Good Lord, baby, yes, and all of these things. And I would just be like, I don't know if they're killing each other or loving each other, but I remember we would sit in the room and laugh and giggle as little kids because my parents knew how to take a break. My daddy would get a break for that Kit Kat bar. Do you hear me? And they would just kind of slide up them steps, and they would take care of business. And as I've gone into this wellness, I've learned so many things. Don't have sex late at night. Have sex. So our parents did it the right way. Now we get in bed, we're exhausted. We're tired. We're just like, good night. We don't understand why we're arguing and fighting. We don't understand why we're turned in opposite directions. We got these televisions in our bedroom. We're taking and sucking all the energy and life out of ourselves. And we're running our kids around like they're doctors and lawyers and they're 7. And we're not taking time out for what Marvin Gaye said was just sexual healing. There is true power in sexual healing. And I realize that even as a Daikini, and I have the highest sex center on the planet. No, I'm not the only one. There are other women with lavender sex centers, but I had my sex center measured scientifically, and it is lavender, the highest healing sexual frequency. Yet, I was a woman who was sexually frustrated. Why? Because I had blocked and trapped energy. A lot of times, ladies, we think it's a man's responsibility to take us to ecstasy. But how can he take us to ecstasy if we're so blocked we don't even uncross our legs practically? I would do everything possible in bed, Patrice, to not acknowledge I was having sex. I would look at the wall. I would look at the ceiling. It would be so awkward. And I never even thought anything was wrong with that. But coming out of Catholicism and coming out of, teenage pregnancy, so many things attached to my sexuality before I was even a woman. I did not have orgasm until well into my later life. And I just thought that that's what sex was. When I first had my first orgasm, this sensation kept coming and I kept stopping, thinking that I had to go to the bathroom. I said, wait. I would go and I would be in the bathroom panting, this thing feeling like it was overtaking me. And I just was like, oh my God, I have to get it out. But I would get to the bathroom and nothing would happen. I'd go back to the bed and it would build again. And I'd tell my husband, wait, I have to go to the bathroom because I didn't know what it was. And I was like 28 years old. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know, and I had been married all my days and I didn't know what it was because sex was at that time just a normal 15 minutes of him pleasing himself and me going, yay, cheering him on. So, that's what it was. It was 15 minutes of him and me being the cheerleader because I didn't know what else it was. It wasn't like I could walk into a room and ask my mother or grandmother about sex. I was going to get my mouth slapped. That was the era I grew up in. So you kind of had sex by, cause and effect or loss and gain. It was just, hit or miss. This is what I'm doing. And so now these children, they're experimenting with everything. I talked to some young men and women who were around the 27 to 30 bracket, and nearly all of them out of 50 people have participated in orgies and things that I have never done, that I would never do. And I said to myself, wow, one of the things I've noticed generationally is there's a lot of devalue on the temple now. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of devaluing of the temple, especially for ladies. You don't understand that you're carrying a sacred space. It says on the board here that sex for many people is on the job training. And that's true because where are the elders? When your grandmother is 37 and she got a boyfriend, and she still got little kids, it's kind of hard to get the elder advice. I had a grandmother who was, in her 60s, 70s, and 80s. 90s. I had my great-grandparents. My great-grandmother passed away at nearly 100 years old. And so she used to say all types of things about the yoni. But even in my family, if you didn't call it a bird, you got your mouth slapped for being fresh. And so we came up with all these little names, and you had little girls running around that didn't even know what they had, and you had grown men or young men or little boys taking it, and we didn't even know what to come home and say was taken. Because we weren't taught that what we had was sacred. And so we got out into the world, and after we may have had men misuse us, we didn't really know how to value ourselves when we got out there. We learned by trial and error. And so, I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me. And so with that being said, we have been learning on each other, like it says on the board here, on the job training. But in the learning, women have become extremely sexually frustrated. And I found within myself that I have a lot of areas, even as a sexual wellness coach, even as a Daikini, even having a high sex center, where I am a literal prude. There are just some areas where I would absolutely not. Why? Because I'm in that era of the whore archetype. That's the era that I grew up in. Now it's okay and socially acceptable to call yourself a whore. It's a very strange place that we've gone to sexually, and sadly, we're still not sexually free. And I don't really know. I mean, Patrice, do you like when you see there was a picture, I don't know if you saw it, of the rapper Nicki Minaj, and it was a triple exposure. It was her in all three pictures, but she was like simulating oral sex between her own legs and I think kissing her own self in the mouth. And she had on like lingerie. I personally got, saying, hey, I'm into myself. But it was done to me with such a vulgarity that I quickly turned the page. And then I heard the younger girls going, oh, my God, this is dope. I want a picture like this. I love me some me. And I thought this is really strange how they view it as empowerment and I view it as degradation, the same exact picture. And you know what I'm saying? And I realized what could be the difference. And as I talked to them, it's really just generational. But the funny thing is their men are looking at me because they want the elder wisdom of lovemaking. They're not interested in their women. And so the funny thing is where it used to be only older men that walked around with young girls, hey, some of these young guys are really hitting on women over 40. And they are romancing. They aren't, they are romancing because they know that they can get up in there and they can learn and they don't have to feed it or clothe it. It's a setup, ladies. You got brothers now on their questionnaire asking, do you have a hysterectomy? Because they want to get up in there and they don't want to have to feed it or clothe it. So they're practicing on older women, and many older women are signed up and happy to get a working, long, strong lingam. They tired of the Viagra moments. And so I got girlfriends, 50 years old with 22-year-old boyfriends. And I'm not talking about taking care of them, 22-year-old boyfriends that are hustling to take care of them. And they say, man, I don't want a girl in her pajamas. I don't want a girl that acts like a man. I want a young lady. I want a woman. And these young boys are going for it, so I salute them. Yes. I salute them, honey. I'm like, bring it on long and strong. And so we're no longer disgraces older women. We're no longer disgracing sitting alone in that spinster circle. We got opportunities, Cardi B's a superstar. We got opportunities. We got blood issues. We can do it, And so I think it's time to step out of the box, ladies, and really just empower yourself in 2018. As I get ready to close, Patrice, I want to thank you so much for calling the Grown Folks Business. We love when our listeners call in and put in your input. That's what it's about. It's about talk radio. And I love the fact that you were willing to talk tonight. And I love that you had a man that put memories like that in your brain. Yes, indeed. Thank you so much for calling Grown Folks Business. And so we're excited about tonight's topic. We're going to continue in the new year with wonderful topics for you here at Grown Folks Business. And we thank you so much for tuning in to Inner Light Radio. This is the healing frequency. We're all about healing from the top of the head to the soles of the feet. We want you whole, but I want you whole most of all in the middle. And so with that, I'm your hostess, Goddess Sierra, and we'll see you back next week on Grown Folks Business.
I know you're used to letdowns and heartbreaks, lost in silhouettes of your heartaches. I can show you better, babe. I can show you better, babe. I know you're used to letdowns and heartbreaks, the lost in silhouettes of your heartaches. I can show you